Let me roll up my sleeves too. This is important here. You know, a lot of people ask me, why do you guys do what you do? Why do you organize conferences? You used to be a project developer. Why we do what we do is because we think, first of all, that infrastructure is unbelievably important around the world. And secondly, we think that there's not enough infrastructure that's built, and we also believe that the public sector really doesn't have the same level of resources that the private sector does in terms of being able to do its job. So there's a real asymmetry, and one of the things I've noticed as I talk to people, participate in World Economic Forum meetings, try to make projects happen, talk to people like Pablo and Duda here from Brazil, is that it's absolutely critical that public owner-operators have access to information, and every other part of the global economy has figured out how to use the internet to create communities of expertise where you can identify people from around the world and share information with them about what you're doing. And it's not best practices information. That to me is database stuff and it's old stuff. It's finding somebody who's got a problem, using algorithms to identify somebody who just solved that problem in some other part of the world. It's really empowering owner-operators to use infrastructure better, to make better decisions, to build more projects, to make sure more projects get to the finish line. Does anybody know what the percentage of water projects that are announced, the percentage that actually get built around the world rather than simply die along the development cycle? 10%. 10% of the projects. So a huge amount of wastage in terms of projects all over the world. It's incredible, and it drives the private sector guys crazy because the transactions costs are super high. But for the public sector guys, it's really frustrating because you work so hard and you don't get a project up and running. So one of the things we've done is we've built a platform to figure out how to do this, to figure out how to create much more capacity in the public sector for building infrastructure projects, for accessing people around the world who've done similar projects. So we've got a platform here, and I'll scroll through it very quickly. There's 814 projects up and running on the platform, 97 countries. Walter, who you just saw and who we do not have rights to use his photo for this, said, finally our industry has its own social business platform. This is really great. This is what we're trying to build for you all. We feature some projects like the Sao Paulo street lighting project, which you'll hear about later today. And we also have made it available for you all for free, and I'll explain how that works a little bit later on, but you click here, you join for free, and you don't even have to spend any time on it because you can go ahead and get your LinkedIn information and it'll populate your profile. You know, we've spent a lot of time on this product. We've probably spent more time on this product than almost anything else, we've done, and I started CGLA 20 years ago because we really believe in this product. If you look at what you can see in front of you, it's a map-based internet social business database. It's a platform everybody can use for free, and it's focused on specific projects. If you look at the fact is that there are about 10,000 strong business opportunities that emerge every year in the world. Wouldn't it be interesting if you all could simply reach out to those people as you were updating a piece of your project? We'll go into one of my projects very quickly. This is the Olmsted Lock and Dam project. We were hired by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They bought a license for the platform to help to get 15 projects defined and up and running on a P3 basis. Super interesting in terms of an organization that all of a sudden is making an incredible amount of resources available to a mid-level of their bureaucracy and empowering those guys to go out and find the best guys in the world to work with them on anything that they're trying to do. The way this works is very simple. I'll go in and I'll edit my project, which is this project. If you look at this right here, it's a basic matrix for you all to put basic information in on your project. Fundamental information in terms of maps, GIS overlays, etc. Financial information, regulatory information, basic participants, anything that has to do with project executives. Whatever you want to put in, you update the information, then the algorithms go and they identify the best people in the world to work with you on that specific issue that you just updated. So it's algorithm based, it's I'm interested in logistics equipment. It identifies a fellow named Joe Kreider as the #1 guy. You can look at Joe. Joe has a 5 rating on our GViP system, because it's just like how it works with Yelp. If you go in and you identify somebody and you ask them for assistance, you get to rate those people, and you get to rate them in terms of whether they were helpful, you get to rate them in terms of their responsiveness, and you get to rate them in terms of their knowledgeability. And the idea here is that all of a sudden we're creating a market for public sector project developers in general, an expertise market from people all over the world. Now think about that. You know, and we use the term expertise as kind of a term of art, but think about it, right? So I'll pick on my friend Pierre. Let's say Pierre's an expert in 4 or 5 things, but Pierre has expertise in 4,000 or 5,000 things. These are things that he's not going to write down. These are things that aren't going to be found in best practices. But if somebody who is developing a project identifies Pierre, Pierre's going to say, well, this is how I solve that problem. I've solved that problem 3 times. There's no market for Pierre to do that unless we create that kind of a market and somebody can reach out to him and start to work with him on that basis. It's that kind of highly iterative, high quality, immediate information that we're trying to make available to people so that they can actually make decisions about projects, about designing projects, about financing projects, about insurance, about technology in a much more self-confident way than they do right now, which is you have to commission a long-term study. It takes a year or 2. You get the study back, and then, you know, hopefully your project is still alive. So we're really trying to create a way for people to think about that. So I'll send a message right now to Joe. And Joe is not here, but he's going to be interested in receiving this message. And I'll just say, Joe, about 150 people are looking at your profile right now. Let's see what Joe says. Now, the other thing that we're really trying to do for you guys is create some analytics so you can go out and find the right people that you want to talk to. So if you look at what's going on here, we actually have all of the projects and they're on a map. And they're all over the world. So we could go to Africa, we could go to Asia, etc. Everybody who has ever been involved in a leadership forum, we ask them to update their projects. And then we actually make sure that we can look at projects in terms of the budget of those projects. So if you're looking at a project, if you're just interested in energy projects, then you search for energy projects. So the whole idea is to create, again, a real marketplace for projects. We'll see if we can look at the experts who are developing these projects. So you also get the faces of the people. You can click on their faces. You can see who they are. Click on him, and you go again to message him. You can set up and rate him. You can see if he's appropriate, and then he'll get back to you in terms of one of the projects that he's developing. So the idea here is all of a sudden this becomes a super interesting tool for you guys to reach out, either actively in terms of identifying the best people or even passively as you update projects and our algorithms go out and find these people. What I want to do is create this tool so it actually is unbelievably useful for every project developer around the world. That's what really matters in terms of what we're doing. I don't want to create it so there's a whole bunch of advertising. I know that you guys don't like that. I don't like that. So what we're doing is every time, just like our algorithms go out and identify people who fit what you need in terms of their expertise, we also have what we call a lightning function. And if you click on the lightning function, you can see a company that fits your expertise. So Andrew actually has a 5 rating. Andrew is focused on transport and urban highways. And Andrew looks like he's a pretty good guy to talk to, and he's based in Singapore. We've got about 12 companies who are participating in GViP. One of the other companies I want to highlight here is CAF, the Andean Finance Corporation. This is creating a platform. A platform means it's not a store where we produce stuff and you buy stuff. That's not what we're doing. We're creating a platform that allows people to come up with ideas, to produce information, to actually make money by being experts on this system. This is called a Cosian solution, which is that the transactions costs for each individual to develop a project like this, to develop this kind of a thing, are gigantic, so it would never exist. But the development banks, plus the Army Corps of Engineers, stepped in, and each one of them bought a license, and we went ahead and built something that now exists for free for project developers and for the private sector around the world. The other thing that we have, and I'm really interested in getting people to think about this, we have a store. And the store is a fantastic resource because the idea, even though it says GViP all across it, what's interesting here is this isn't our store. The idea is that this is the global infrastructure community store. So there are premium products that have a fee. Anybody in this room can put a premium product in the store and sell it, and we'll manage that process. Anybody can put in free content. So we have lots of free content from Boston Consulting Group, from World Economic Forum, from other people. You can put in content that has to do with very specific information. For instance, Infra Insights in India has developed a real good relationship with us, and we make their products available to people around the world. The idea is that what we want to do is we want this to be a place, again, where you can produce information and you can monetize that information both directly in terms of selling information and also indirectly in terms of generating business because you're sharing the excess knowledge that you have with people who actually need that knowledge and have a reason to pay for that knowledge. You can also create your own channel. So what we've done for the Army Corps of Engineers is we've actually created their own white label channel where they actually can benefit from project developers from around the world who become then resources for them. So if you look at the Exploring the P3 Public Sector Comparator, just a question that people in the Army Corps developing P3s ask, we actually have put together experts who are providing information to them on a regular basis from Spain, from Brazil, from Philadelphia, from Harvard Business School, Larry Belinsky from New York. Mark Brazo actually is kind enough to participate, who's developing the Champlain Bridge, and a number of other people, including Mark Weisdorf, Mike Bars, Pierce Homer, who was the Secretary of Transportation for Virginia, Tim Feather, Scott Polakov, who does real estate in Dallas. The idea, again, is you can put together your own advisory board to follow you through a project using the best people in the world to do that. So that, for me, is unbelievably important. Let me go to the last slide if we can, Patricia. So let's say that you've got a problem, right? Let's keep going to the next slide. You actually are in a position where you have to produce a phenomenal project. You're under a lot of pressure to produce this project. I remember asking a friend of mine, how much would you pay? Because I was trying to get a sense of how to monetize this platform. How much would you pay for project manager for the P3 project you're developing in Virginia. It was Pierce Homer. He was the Secretary of Transportation for Virginia. And he looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. He said, there is no amount of money I wouldn't pay to be able to do that, because that's just unbelievable from my point of view. The platform exists in 4 languages. So it already exists in English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. You have your own projects that you're focused on. These are your projects. These are projects that you're developing or overseeing. You can have up to 15 sub-people working with you on those projects. Obviously, you have your own map, which you can customize. Then the system goes out and finds similar projects, which it's really cool, right? That's like when you go to a bookstore or a library and you're looking for a book and you see the book next to it and you go, well, that's really interesting. Those people are actually available for you to talk to. They're available. They're part of your community. Then you have your own experts who you're following, Pierce Homer, Elcio Tokeshi, and then you have a project feed. Anytime anything gets updated here, you get to see that. And then all across the top, you have your analytics. And then finally, let's say that I have this problem. Let's say that I need to develop a project. Now think about all the people in the world, and how do you find these people? Especially if you're a public sector project developer in a place like Myanmar, right? How do you find the best guys in the world? Well, you might come to a CGLA leadership forum, but it'd be more efficient if you could just find these guys, right? So you simply click on, right, project management, and then you go, I don't want the worst guy, I want the best guy, I want the highest rated project management guy in the world. And look who you get. You get Tim McManus. It's unbelievable. So the highest rated guy for your project in Myanmar is right in the back of the room, and you never would have met him without our platform. So anyway, Tim, that is your introduction. Thank you very much, you guys. I really appreciate your time.